So, George, we deal with a lot of clients that are amateur players, and one of the things that you and I both know that if they were to focus on their short game and their scoring ability, their score is going to drop and improve dramatically. So, what do you think are some go-to shots that every amateur needs to have in their arsenal to get their game to be a little bit better?
No, I absolutely agree. I think, say, inside of 30 yards is like the low-hanging fruit for so many players. And well, we don't want to get over complicated or over fancy. I think really a high shot and a low shot is what you need around the green. What I tell a lot of people too, very rarely do we have to hit it really high around the green.
Correct.
You know, we don't have rows of hedges alongside the green or anything else. And the last thing is, and then I'm going to get into the low shot, is somebody say, well, I have to hit a high shot when I'm going over a bunker. Well, a bunker's a hole in the ground.
Right.
You know, so you're going to hit it high if you don't have a lot of green to work with.
And that height is more to control the landing, just the landing angle, so the ball doesn't roll out. It's not to overcome an obstacle that's in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So if I'm short of the bunker, I've got a bunker in front of a green and a back flag. There's no reason to hit it high.
No.
In that case. But talking about the low shot, what I don't like to see, and I see it too much, is players get really open and they put the ball back in their stance, and that really exposes the leading edge on this shot. So what I like to see is actually just a square stance, ball in the middle of your stance. I'm going to favor the left side. And by the way, I've got a gap wedge here. I don't, you know, again, you don't need to go to your lob wedge all the time. So I'm square, ball's in the middle of my stance. I'm going to give it a little bit of wrist hinge, and then I'm going to rotate my chest through. And I think it's very important that we rotate our chest. If we don't, that club's going to end up getting flipped, and now I can get that leading edge to hit the ball right in the forehead. So weight favors the left side, no weight shift, little wrist hinge, and then go ahead and turn through it. And just really just get the ball on the green, get it started, and have it work towards the hole.
Yeah, and you know, the main difference I see when I want to have a player, you know, have to have some height in the shot, whether it's to control that down angle or to have a little carry into the golf ball, you don't have the chance to hit the bump and run. Very similar execution. The one thing I want to have make sure the student do is I want to make sure that they actually weaken their right hand and get that right hand a little more on top. This is going to allow that loft of the golf club to be maintained during the shot, which is what's critical to hitting that high arcing shot. The other thing that, as you mentioned, I think a lot of amateurs don't necessarily understand, there has to be a pivot towards the hole, whether you're trying to hit the low shot or the high shot. They're quite often trying to lift it with their hands and flipping their hands at the bottom of the swing. That's actually going to raise the leading edge off of the ground, and if you do that, you're probably going to hit a blade just like that. We've all done that before because we're trying to elevate the ball into the air. So by weakening that right hand, swinging nice and smooth, and throwing a nice soft little pivot into the ball, you can get that nice elevation. The ball's going to land nice and soft, and it's going to release down to the target, and you're going to get that nice 4 or 5 footer left for par. So those are the two key elements I think are important when you're trying to hit that high shot.
Great. Yeah, I think like you said when you started, most amateurs can save so many shots around the greens if they just got comfortable with these types of shots. And as I look at the greatest short game players ever, what I see is that they have a lot of imagination.
Absolutely.
They can look at a shot and at first glance, like, oh boy, this is going to be a tough one. But they use an angle. They change their trajectory. They get a slope. How are we going to get that? We're just going to get it by experimenting. Spend a lot of time hanging around the green.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes when you're practicing. I mean, everybody thinks practice needs to be perfect, and you only learn when you make a mistake and you try to improve upon that.
I agree. I agree. Try to hit as many different shots as you can, and somewhere down the road, you're going to need that one.
Yeah, absolutely.